I mean, when I look back and I think about it, it's almost like a prisoner of war just been tied down to a seat and tortured. And she was tied down and had to take everything that child, 96 attacks that afternoon. Every bite she felt, and she couldn't pull away from it. No. And all she could do was scream. And she was screaming. I mean, blood curdling screams. That's why I can't watch it.
We can promulgate regulations in-house without the need of additional legislation.
Where's the regs? Where have they been? This happened in 2018.
I'm not about playing politics, and that's what this is. There's lives at stake. There's children at stake. Whoever fought the bill is playing politics with the children of South Carolina, and it is high time that it stopped, and it stopped right now.
Nearly 5 years after two special needs students were brutally attacked at a South Carolina school bus, the state still does not have a law requiring adult attendants to ride those buses. The state warned the district something like this would happen 2 months before these attacks, but the district did nothing about those warnings.
And today, the State Board of Education met to vote on the first reading of the regulation that was supposed to fix the attendant problem, but that regulation doesn't force anyone to do anything. Our Chief Investigator Jody Barr was at the State Board meeting and has tonight's update to the longest ride, a Queen City News investigation.
In the nearly 5 years since two children were attacked on a Chesterfield County special needs bus, where no adult attendant was on board, neither the State Department of Education nor the state legislature's done anything to keep this from ever happening again. But last December, Representative Richie Yow saw what happened on this bus in his home county and filed a bill that would have forced school districts to place an adult attendant on special needs buses with restrained children.
This bill that you got in front of you has stemmed from an incident that happened in Chesterfield County. A child was a disabled child riding a special needs bus. The child was attacked numerous times, bite marks, bruise marks. Her head was beaten up against the chair. I will tell you that if an attendant would have been there, it would have protected that child.
But Yow's bill never made it out of this House Joint Subcommittee, not after the State Education Department's Government Relations Director, Philip Cease, convinced lawmakers to kill Yow's bill.
The department understands why this legislation was introduced. Upon further investigation, under current statutes, the department is able to write legislations, and the State Board of Education is able to adopt those regulations so that local school districts have to abide by those. So we can promulgate regulations in-house without the need of additional legislation.
The SCDOE came up with this, a regulation that told districts they should put an aide on special needs buses if an aide is available.
I would like to welcome everyone today to the State Board meeting.
Tuesday afternoon, the State Board had its first chance at dealing with the proposed regulation during its meeting in Columbia.
My name is Patrick McLaughlin. I'm an attorney in Florence, South Carolina with the Wakila Law Firm.
They heard first from the attorney who won nearly $2.5 million for the two nonverbal child victims in these attacks.
I don't know who wrote this proposed amendment, but I can tell you this much: to get up in front of that joint subcommittee of the General Assembly and tell them that y'all were going to submit a reg that was going to do what Representative Yow's bills were meant to accomplish, whoever wrote this, if they claim that's what this reg does, they're either being disingenuous or they are incompetent. One of the two. It accomplishes nothing.
Patrick McLaughlin reminded the board Chesterfield County School District administrators were warned 2 months before these attacks that operating special needs buses without another adult on board was putting the children, the public, and the driver at risk. And the lawsuit depositions also contain testimony from the SCDOE's head of safety and transportation. The agency has always held the power to fix this, but the state did nothing until this video and our investigation went public.
But 920 days ago, he admitted to me under oath as your representative, a 30B6 witness in a civil lawsuit, that y'all knew about two problems on special needs buses, two problems that could be fixed via regulation. and nothing has ever been done.
Philip Cease told the board he'd gotten emails and letters from the public asking to turn the regulation into a mandate. But despite that, the agency did not add a mandate in the proposed regulation.
All those in favor, please vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Cease, for being here today.
Voting to pass first reading as written. One state board member, though, on her first day on the job, appeared to recognize the risk in the regulation.
If we have a situation, as the attorney explained, where a child is nonverbal and the child is injured, if we don't have an attendant present, would that not place our state in some legal jeopardy if something were to happen to a child in that situation?
That's certainly a possibility. So our initial issue with Representative Yow proposed legislation was that if you mandate aides for buses, the way that bill was drafted, if there's no aide, the bus does not run, which is problematic because we have aides and bus drivers call out sick every day.
But a sick teacher doesn't mean canceled classes. We asked Cease to explain the difference.
Doesn't state law require a teacher to be in the classroom? If a teacher's sick, somebody's got to be there, right?
Right.
So what's the difference with these buses?
The bus drivers and aides are different.
How is that?
The process for them to be hired.
Do you understand the concern that the regulation you all proposed does not do what Yow's bill suggests?
Correct. But if Yow's bill would prevent children from getting from school to home or home to school, if there was not an aide on the bus.
And now all of a sudden there's a problem with Yow's bill. Before they just didn't understand why the bill was being proposed. Now all of a sudden, oh, there's a problem with it and it could result in kids not being transported. Listen, it's nothing but excuses and avoiding the problem. Every time they delay it, a kid is getting on a bus and they're not being protected and they're being endangered. If these kids get attacked, it's on the department. They know about it and they've done nothing to stop it.
Tuesday's vote was only the first of 2 public readings for this proposed regulation. The State Department of Education has reopened public comment on this proposed reg. You can send your written comments to the state between now and August 28th. The State Board of Education will meet back here in Columbia on September 12th, where the full board could either change the language of this proposed regulation or leave it as is. But whatever happens, lawmakers won't return to Columbia here until January, meaning that is the earliest this regulation could be approved by lawmakers. From the State House, Jody Barr, Queen City News investigates.